So what we're talking about here is a penis or a
Vagina.
What's the opposite of a penis?
Clitoris.
Clitoris. Thank you. How'd you know that? Have you taken this class before? Okay, yeah. So we're talking about a penis or a clitoris.
Being isolated is a very universal experience in the gay community, and for a lot of people, it's in the sex education classroom.
Sex should be normal for everybody, and it's okay to talk about it.
We're only being taught that a vagina and a penis is the only way to have sex.
If sex ed were more comprehensive, then it would shape a lot of the policies that we had.
We need protection. Trans women of color are being murdered at an alarming rate.
My mother passed away when I was 4, and as a result, I ended up living at a number of kinship care, youth shelters, and foster homes. I know exactly what it feels like to be a young person and feel misunderstood. I am Nefertari Sloan. I am a non-binary person of color who teaches sex ed. Who can tell me what HIV is? Anybody know? The thing with sex is everybody has a relationship with it to some degree. And it's one of those things that we never really formally discuss in school the same way that we talk about math. How are we talking about how to put on a condom? How are we talking about how to negotiate boundaries with our partners? And these are the things that like people actually need more help with as they graduate and come into their adult lives. What do you do if you don't know someone's gender identity?
There are huge health consequences for not having proper sex education. Queer people are not getting the proper education on how to protect themselves from HIV and AIDS. And not just HIV and AIDS, we have a serious problem with gonorrhea right now in the gay community. My name is Casey Miller. I am the Executive Director of Keystone Coalition for Advancing Sex Education. I'm 18 years old and I'm a freshman at University of Pennsylvania. I went to high school in a boarding school in Westchester, Pennsylvania, but I was also one of the only gay students at school, so in a sense it was also pretty isolating. The overarching theme of the class, as at the end goal of a sexual experience, is to be with a man and a woman.
Today is a high point in the romance of Bob and Mary. For them, the future looks bright.
Too often I feel like the LGBTQ community is looked at as sort of like predators because we're out of the norm, and I don't think that that should be the case. My name is Tyunique Nelson. I am 21 years old. I live in West Philadelphia. I serve LGBTQ youth 13 to 24. This is where I meet with my youth and we talk about our wildest dreams. My experience with sex ed was very difficult. There was always the, how does gay sex work? If there are two lesbians, who's the woman, who's the man? Questions like that were never sort of like, how can LGBTQ people be included? I can remember being younger and like having sexual feelings and thinking that I was like wrong or disgusting. I didn't feel safe enough to come out until I found somebody that I actually wanted to date. So a short while after we came out, me and my partner were called into our school's counselor office, and we were threatened with suspension if we continued to sort of like hold hands and show PDA and things like that in the hall. Now I know that those are opinions that my school or society or so those sorts of things projected on me, and now I know that I'm fine.
Society kind of makes us assign different labels to people with these identities without knowing much more about them. In school, I don't remember having a formal sex education class. When I was younger, I was actually verbally homophobic. I didn't realize that I was a lesbian until I started dating masculine women, and I said, oh wait, this is an option? I've been teaching sex ed for about 3 years now. I think that being a sex educator to me means giving people permission to like explore their desires and figure out what their identities are in a safe space that isn't going to judge them.
I was 16 and realized this huge need for inclusive and comprehensive sex education, I started Keystone Coalition and I became an advocate. Right now, we're launching our big petition drive initiative. So our goal is to have 15,000 signatures in the next year sent right to the Pennsylvania legislature saying that we believe that sex education needs to be comprehensive, medically accurate, and inclusive, and that all of us are ready to vote on that. I think we need our own piece of legislation, and I think we need to make it very clear, because what's happening is with that lack of regulation and with that ambiguity, we have school boards making up their own curriculums, hiring outside people who aren't actually health professionals and who don't know medically accurate and factually non-biased sex education programs.
I see more and more young people taking charge of their own education and their own pleasure and their own sexual rights. So yes, I'm very hopeful.